To be together. What did you have on your mind for the session today?
The what I'm really wrestling with right now is actually about starting a new coaching business and how to navigate two rather distinct branches of what I envision ultimately being our focus of practice.
Okay. Well, thank you for bringing something so well thought out. What what would you feel good with leaving with at the end of the session today?
I think what would be helpful for me would be to have kind of some scaffolding in my mind about how to navigate two paths that are sort of hooked at the top, that are kind of branches of the same tree
Mm.
at the same time, because historically that's hard for me. I'm very much like if I have a goal and I'm working towards something, like my superpower is I can laser focus on that thing and just power through till it's done. But my kryptonite is that same thing because everything else I have, kind of goes by the wayside when I'm super focused on one aspect of something, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Am I understanding then that you're hoping to zoom out and think about the two branches together as opposed to getting laser focused on just one branch?
Yeah, kind of some, you know, um, I guess, yes. Yes, that is what I'm looking for, to be able to sort of maintain two separate streams of creativity and production that are related but different and be able to work on both of them simultaneously or kind of how to put that out in the world. Like I guess I'm looking for some clarity for myself of what that actually looks like in um as I'm producing it or moving toward it, if
Okay.
that makes sense.
Yeah. And how will you know that you've reached that clarity that we need to reach today?
I think I will know when I have some actionable items, and in my mind have a sense of time management that allows me to focus on both things.
Mhm.
I guess it's less the time management and more the like how to make it happen. And if it's even reasonable to do two things simultaneously, or if I really have to just focus on one and then branch out to the other one. Um, you can tell I'm kind of wrestling with it all by how discombobulated my speaking about it is, you know? Yeah. Would it be helpful if I gave you some more details about what it looks like? Or
Yeah, I think it definitely would, and I think I'm following you, so don't worry about feeling discombobulated. Although maybe that's something for us to unpack a little more too. That how you're feeling. Um, I do want to hear more details, and I'm also interested, though, in the importance of this for you right now. Can you just say a little more about that?
Yeah, it's vitally important for me right now, which is why I brought it to discuss with you because my a colleague and I are creating a business together, and we're launching October 1st, and we're in the process right now of building our products and our offerings and what that looks like, and we're in that stage. And yeah, so it's very important to me right
Got it.
now.
An
Yeah.
October 1st launch.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, walk me through what this is all about.
Well, our concept initially, when we first decided to work together, was a focus on female physicians, women physicians, because we're both women.
Mhm.
And as you know, women have their own set of additional hurdles to navigate in the world of medicine that is still built with the concept that like every doctor is a man with a wife at home taking care of everything else, right? And so that was really our initial focus. But as we've moved through the process of really creating the company, um, I think a couple of things. So, a passion of mine is working with doctors in training. I am definitely on the disc. I'm fully an I. And one of the comments I got, like in the breakdown, was when at work, don't dream with her, you'll waste time. And I was like, wait. And then I was like, oh, that's true. Because I do, I kind of like, I'm a big thinker. I'm kind of like a higher, whatever that view.
Mhm.
And I don't want to dilute what I'm doing because I'm trying to do too many things.
Mhm.
So is it better to have that core and have like one branch, get it solid, and then add another branch? Or is it best to just, since we know these are two areas that we really want to focus on, is it better to just like let things sprout? I don't know.
Mhm. Mhm. I'm really curious though, and you're telling me about some of the different branches, and I keep coming back to like what's at the core. That's what I'm really curious about.
Yeah. Yes. I think at the core is a calling that I feel deeply to contribute to the well-being of our healthcare providers because through my experience that brought me to coaching, like I said, with my own struggle, um, I really recognized on a profound level how broken the system is, and also that we are teeny tiny little cogs, despite our training that tells us that we are the captain of the ship, we're the final stop, we're the deciders. In reality, we're not. And um, helping us as a community find a way to thrive within a dysfunctional system, understanding that yes, we need to advocate for it to change and we need to do those things, but that is something that will take a lot of time.
Mhm.
And yeah, I just feel a deep calling to help people find their way to thrive in the meantime, while also moving toward those changes, but not sacrifice ourselves at the altar of it, if
Mhm.
that makes sense. I think that's the core of it for me.
Mhm.
I don't know if I'm,
I'm picking up like just a real sense of feeling very solid in that. That doesn't, I'm not picking up on any feeling of discombobulation
yeah.
when you tell me about that part. Does
I,
how does that feel for you?
I think that's true. I think like at my core, like I think I am very clear and solid about the purpose of why I'm doing what I'm doing. I think it's the navigating there that makes me a little discombobulated, if
Mhm.
that makes sense.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm a big believer. I have lived, the joke in my family is that I've lived 1,000 lives because I've done a lot of different things. I went to med school late, like I had already done a bunch of different stuff before that.
Mhm.
And so I guess from that experience, I acknowledge and recognize and teach my children that there are a lot of different ways to get to your destination. And I'm a big believer in like peeking, going through that door and checking it out, even if it seems like it's a branch off of your direct path, because it will ultimately bring you back,
Mhm.
hopefully with something that you've learned or gained along that part of that journey. The image of Medusa just came into my head because it's like that solid center, but then like all the stuff, like all the little snakes.
Snakes.
You know what I mean? Not snakes in a bad way, but just like, all these living kind of things that are around that have a little bit of their own life, and how to tap into my core belief in the most productive way. I guess that's my point. I want to make the best, I'm 58. I don't have that much time. I want to have the biggest impact that I can in my small way um, during the time I have left on this planet. And yeah, and I'm just not sure if by doing two things at once, if I will dilute that impact.
Mhm.
Does that, Am I making sense?
Yeah, that that sounds like the stakes are really high. There's this time pressure, this feeling like you can only do some of the things that you're called to do.
Yeah. I mean, you know, when you're younger, I never thought about the future, the horizon, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But as I get older, I'm like, oh, okay, I have to, be mindful of the fact that I feel great. I'm strong and healthy and like all the things. There's nothing imminent, but I am coming up on 60 in a couple of years. And that took me aback. Last birthday, I was like, oh. So I feel this need to kind of prioritize in a way that I haven't before, if that makes sense. Where, yeah. Um, and again, I want to set us up to do the most good that we can do and to serve the people that will be served by us to the best of our ability. And I just want to make sure that I'm not taking on more than I'm able to do well,
Mhm.
you know?
It when you mentioned Medusa, I was just seeing like many snakes kind of writhing, all like curious, looking in different directions with their little heads.
Yeah.
Um, and feel like feeling that overwhelm of, there are so many different directions. Um, and you've told me about maybe two branches though. Like I'm picturing lots of snakes, but I really only heard you talking about two sort of branches of the tree. Um, t- in that, and maybe you only gave two examples. Are there like more examples where you're being pulled, or is it really like you're being pulled in those two directions?
I think it's really those two directions. And I think maybe the idea, like the Medusa and all of those things in my mind are all of the things that branch off of those two branches, just that the details that need to be done. And
Hmm.
maybe that's what makes me feel a little like, oh, can I handle all of these little branches and also all of these little branches? And can I do it really well simultaneously while trying to build this out?
Got it.
You know, when you're younger, I never thought about the future, the horizon, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But as I get older, I'm like, oh, okay, I have to, be mindful of the fact that I feel great. I'm strong and healthy and like all the things. There's nothing imminent, but I am coming up on 60 in a couple of years. And that took me aback. Last birthday, I was like, oh. So I feel this need to kind of prioritize in a way that I haven't before, if that makes sense. Where, yeah. Um, and again, I want to set us up to do the most good that we can do and to serve the people that will be served by us to the best of our ability. And I just want to make sure that I'm not taking on more than I'm able to do well,
Mhm.
you know?
It when you mentioned Medusa, I was just seeing like many snakes kind of writhing, all like curious, looking in different directions with their little heads.
Yeah.
Um, and feeling that overwhelm of, there are so many different directions. Um, and you've told me about maybe two branches though. Like I'm picturing lots of snakes, but I really only heard you talking about two sort of branches of the tree. Um, t- in that, and maybe you only gave two examples. Are there like more examples where you're being pulled, or is it really like you're being pulled in those two directions?
I think it's really those two directions. And I think maybe the idea, like the Medusa and all of those things in my mind are all of the things that branch off of those two branches, just that the details that need to be done. And
Hmm.
maybe that's what makes me feel a little like, oh, can I handle all of these little branches and also all of these little branches? And can I do it really well simultaneously while trying to build this out?
Got it. I'm also hearing a lot of I, and you mentioned a partner.
Mhm, mhm.
What's happening in your partnership?
Oh, it's amazing. I think the reason I'm using I is twofold. I think because we're coaching and you're just coaching me, you're not like coaching the two of us together. And also because she's still working, she's a nocturnal intensivist. and she's wrapping up, she's retiring at the end of the summer. And so my commitment during this time is that like I will do a lot of this legwork because I have the time to do it. And yeah, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah,
we did a lot of soul searching. We actually got some coaching together before we decided to do this because we
cool.
trained together. Like we've been friends for decades and we're like, we don't want to do anything that could, put any friction in our relationship. So we really took our time and did a lot of work before we decided to do this together. So like that is a solid relationship and it's awesome. I have no qualms about that or concerns about it.
Mhm. So you're in the legwork phase, and it's a little bit of time right now where it's you working on it individually on some of the
Yeah,
legwork.
I mean, and also we come together, but for example, she does blocks, and so we haven't really been able to talk for several weeks because she's been on like back-to-back blocks of working, and we'll talk later today and come together.
Mhm.
But I would like to be able to bring to her some suggestions and ideas because she's new. She's actually going to do this course in the next cohort.
Mhm.
But I think because I'm like a little bit ahead of her in that way, um, I would like to be able to present her with kind of like, hey, here, this is what I envision, this is what I'm thinking,
Mhm.
and yeah, and then get her feedback on it. But I kind of wanted to get clear for myself,
Mhm.
um, going into that conversation with her about it.
Mhm. Um, and if you talk to her later today, what would what would this sound like, I guess? The description of the paths and how they fit together, or the branches and how they fit together.
Well, I guess it goes back to my question of being able to, there's the service piece, which is the driving force of all of this, but then also the business part, which also matters because I have two kids to get through college, and she does too, you know what I mean? And so practically speaking, I don't think that one-on-one coaching of individual docs is a business model that will allow us to scale and and increase our impact in that way. Um, but I am very drawn to that also. Um, and I also don't know enough about the state of the business to know where we would fit each of those. I guess I feel like if you're talking about starting a business and launching and marketing, having it all directed toward your niche is the way to do it. um but I don't want to box us in. I want to have room for the other spokes.
Mm,
And she and I've talked about both of these ideas too. It's not like this is just me, but I kind of, I don't know. I'm just not sure if it's dumb or smart or doable. You know what I mean? Am I rambling? Am I making any sense? I feel like I'm not
well,
making this easy
uh,
for you.
no, you actually you shed some light for me on a couple of other conflicts or being pulled in different directions. So now I'm hearing this structural potential conflict between individual coaching versus maybe group coaching in terms of the scalability.
Yeah.
And then also another conflict that I just heard is about um, having a specific niche, but then also not being boxed in.
Yeah.
Is that, I don't know, am I hearing a little bit of like more structural clarity emerging?
Yeah.
Even if they're in conflict, I thought I was hearing a little bit more like of the specific structure starting to emerge.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of that. Yes. And Um, yeah, because where my mind is going right now is like, well, maybe each of us take on one of those pieces as the primary person and kind of directs that, possibly. Um,
What would that look like?
I was just thinking, but I don't know what that looks like.
Okay. I- Is that something you'd be interested in thinking more about?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's more, I think this is getting a little more clear for me right now, Christy, because I think more of the like, the all of the things, those are all things that I have at my fingertips that I know how to do,
Mm-hmm.
as far as like building specific programs
Mm-hmm.
within those structures. I mean, within those umbrellas. Um, but I do feel this is getting a little more clear internally right now because I do think the way that I know I work that it might be best to just focus on one and then focus on the other rather than try and do both tandem at the same time because they're very different models.
Okay. How?
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
guess yeah, I'm just this is really helpful. Um I think so for example, we're gonna give a talk at the Washington Derm Association, their big conference in the fall. And I guess that's what I think of as kind of a touchstone. Like, okay, so do we want to approach that from the perspective of coaching female physicians? I don't know because that's leaving out half the audience.
Hmm.
And if it's more of a group situation, that just seems to fit better, and it's also, the academics that it's that world of people that are there. Um, yeah, I, I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm seeing like in your body language, like a little bit of nervous energy right now.
Yeah, because it's new. This is also new. Like I've never done business anything. You know what I mean? Ever in my life. All the things I've done, it's always been very like self-driven or kind of, you know what I mean? Like more um and so having to think, I think maybe part of my awkwardness and discomfort is having to think about that business side of it. I mean, even when I was a physician, like I didn't think about the money. You know what I mean? Like it just wasn't, that's never been a driver for me. And so it does make me a little uncomfortable even caring about that. But the reality is I am an only parent of two teenagers and I need to and also I need to be able to care for myself when I get old and not be a burden on them. You know what I mean? Like all of that piece is real and I'm not comfortable with it.
Hmm.
Thank you for giving me the space to just say that. Like I'm not comfortable thinking about the money part of it. I think that bothers me.
Mhm.
That feels freeing to say that out loud. It's the old, like, it's the wasp in me. We don't talk about money.
We don't talk about money.
Very gauche.
And is that something you're interested in getting more comfortable with?
I mean, yeah, I have to, right? Like it's just part of it. And there's nothing, it's not a, um, it's not a flaw in your ethics to be realistic about the fact that you need to support your family. Like that's what I would tell anyone else. Like, I don't know, you know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
But I do think that is causing a little friction in my thinking about it.
Hmm. Where does the the need to make money from this fit into the original image of the tree with branches?
I mean, I think it's, I think for my own, I'm trying to think like with the image. I think it's just, it's like a little, like if there's the path with branches, it's like a little stream kind of running through it that allows stuff to grow
Mm.
and frees, creates freedom. I think that's the kind of how I feel about it. Um, I'm not a materialistic person. Like you know what I mean? Like I'm not fancy. Um, and I've never cared about things, but I do care about my children and them having a home and a future. And you know what I mean? Like, and so, um, it's interesting because making money has never been a driver for me, and it's also not been an issue. I've had the luxury of being able to not have to scrap. You know, just the things that I've done in my life have unfolded in a way that have allowed me to pursue my true so for example, I lived in Guatemala for like 4 years, and it was during the Civil War, and I did development work up in the mountains, and I had originally gone there with a certain amount of money, thinking I could live there for like a year. And then when that money ran out, and I was like, oh, okay, I gotta go, or I gotta figure something out. But I didn't want to, I wasn't ready to leave yet. I wasn't done. And then a friend of a friend's, like a dear friend of mine, her father's best friend died. And in his will said, you know, I want to leave $10,000 to a really good cause. And Ed, I give it to you to define that cause. And so she wrote me because, you know, it was you know, there were no cell phones, but it was in the 90s. And she was like, I have this gift that we want to give you. And it was exactly when I had literally just said the words, okay, I got to go back and like make some more money because I can't, because we were volunteering our services. We weren't. And then this sort of thing fell into my, you know, it's always been like the universe has been very generous in that way. And I've always felt like when I was on my correct path that I was, you know, meant to be on and doing meaningful work, things just work out.
Mm.
And so this is the first time, and even with med school, like I never thought about what specialty I was going to go into based on like how much money I could earn from it. It was more like where am I called to be of service?
Mm.
I mean that sounds so like ugh, of service, but you know what I mean. Like I've had the luxury of being able to follow my heart in my life. And so this is the first time that I'm like, okay, so I'm at this point in my life where I do have like fiduciary obligation to my family. And I think that's a big part of the discomfort. Ooh,
Mm.
hmm, yeah, yeah.
I'm,
Interesting. Hmm.
is something shifting right
Yeah,
now?
that's just interesting for me to acknowledge that, you know, and how that relates to how I brought us here. I'm not quite sure, which is also interesting. Like where that fits into I guess it ties into the business side of creating a business, you know? Which is funny because I created you know, when I finished residency, I started a hospitalist company with three other docs, like right out of residency. And we built this amazing thing. And then we ended up selling it. And, you know, like so I've done that. It's not like I haven't built a business before, but again, it was never you know, I wasn't the we had a CFO. So I wasn't the one, um, doing like the direct negotiations over the contracts or stuff like that. Um,
You're the one who walks on your path to serve where you're meant to serve, and then the the money comes.
It
And
just works out. You know what I mean? Yeah, which is so funny because when I look back at that, I was the one that was sort of they all called me like the like mama of the group. Like I was the one that was sort of really working on our mission statement, and I was the chair of the ethics committee in the hospital where the first hospital where we were. And I was the one that would make sure that we were interacting with the staff, the ancillary staff, and that we got feedback from them and it was meaningful and you know what I mean? Like that was kind of my role. Um, it's funny because it did work out. I mean, that's what allowed me to not work and raise my kids when my husband died.
just want to check in terms of the objective of the session, which was kind of getting some clarity on these branches, how it all fits together. How are we doing to that objective?
From my perspective, we're doing great because I really do feel like there was a little shift there for me recognizing that I cannot I need to because I hate that, but I am capable of
Hmm.
um removing that pressure. I didn't really recognize that that was kind of sitting here for me until this conversation, Christy. And so to recognize that I can, because I have in the past been able to just trust and have the and trust that it will work out. And I think that leads me to a place of feeling more comfortable kind of going down dual pathways at the same time because I do feel equally called to both of those communities or both of those groups or whatever the word is.
Where would you like to go next, knowing that?
I think